Most of the military veterans we've highlighted this summer in connection with the Utah Honor Flight lived their lives without much public acclaim. That certainly is not the case with the Utah veteran we're going to tell you about tonight. News specialist Gail Halvorsen joins us with the remarkable story of Gail Halvorsen.
Right, and for those who it doesn't ring a bell, the name Gail Halvorsen, maybe they better know him by his nicknames, Wiggly Wings, the Candy Bomber. For well over 60 years, his fame has lived on, not because of combat with the enemy, but because of an act of peace with the children of former enemies. When he dropped candy by parachute in 1948, Gail Halvorsen never imagined people would still remember it 66 years later.
The bottom line is that I'm astounded.
He's had books written about him and has been honored by several countries. 60 years after the fact, he was ABC's Person of the Week. He's been called out by presidents.
The countless acts of individual kindness, like Gail Halvorsen, the famous Rosinen bomber, who dropped tiny parachutes of candy.
He still gets cards and letters and emails from kids who just heard about him or former kids long since grown up. Next month, he'll win a Lifetime Achievement Award from Lufthansa Airlines, 2/3 of a century after the Berlin airlift. He's remembered, he thinks, because of what he delivered by parachute, hope, in a city that the U.S. bombed to smithereens just 3 years before.
And you have the forgiveness. 8 to 15-year-old forgiveness, pure innocence.
It was an extraordinary moment 3 years after World War II, at the dawn of the Cold War. Halvorsen was one of the pilots in a huge U.S. airlift that saved 2 million Germans from starvation. The Soviet Union had blockaded West Berlin in an attempt to take it away from the Western Allies. Halvorsen flew plane load after plane load of flour and coal, eagerly unloaded by German volunteers.
They could have the flour unloaded in about 10 minutes. We'd be on our way to get another load.
But it was a fateful meeting at the fence line with German kids that changed Halvorsen's life. He gave them some gum and then dropped more by parachute on his next flight, wiggling his wings over the kids, originally planning to do it just once.
But the kids were having such a ball and waving through the barbed wire that I said, we got another week, we got another ration. Let's do it again.
Other pilots eventually joined in, dropping tons of candy and gum. The children were not German enemies, but grateful friends.
The people are people. I don't care where the border is, or whether it's East Germany or West Germany. People are the same, have the same needs. Some are luckier than others to be born, and there's different geography and different relationships.
Decades later, he met a German kid, all grown up, who remembered a Hershey's chocolate bar that landed at his feet.
But he said, the chocolate was wonderful, but the chocolate was not what was important. So what was important was that somebody knew I was in trouble and somebody cared. What that meant, that they stayed with me, and that was hope. And then he said the most meaningful words that I'll never forget. Without hope, the soul dies.
Halvorsen grew up in Utah and Idaho. He currently lives part of the time in Utah and part-time in Arizona.
We all knew chocolate was good.
Yeah, that's right. So is hope.
Way to go, Gail.